Hey you, how's it going? My name is Ruby Price and today I'm revisiting my 30 before 30 bucket list because a couple of weeks ago I finished reading all the books that are in this book series. Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire. Well, I say all the books that have been released so far. So, these ones. So the biggest thing I always found when planning my 30 before 30 in terms of this list was what would I consider ticking off Game of Thrones, because all the books so far isn't all of the books that are being written. There are still 2 more books to come out in the series, and I thought, you know, I could be waiting longer than time for me to be 30 in order to actually tick this off. So I've finished all the books so far. When another book gets published, I can just add that on and be, yeah, I added that on. Can I have my point, please? So from now on, there may be some spoilers in terms of the actual plotline of Game of Thrones, because another thing when it came to making this video I wasn't sure about was whether I would discuss sort of plot and style differences, and I probably will. I'll try and keep it short. Overall, I did enjoy the book series. It was a lot harder to read than I anticipated. It's a very, very slow burn. And I think that some of the processes and scenes that happen don't have a similar effect as the TV series. What people might think when it comes to the season that we've just had, that will probably be a couple of years down the line based on this. The first book, Game of Thrones, I think is a very good standalone book. Obviously, you know, it finishes in sentences that sets up the rest of the books, but I think you can read that book and it's a great book on its own, and you know, the way that it's done just really, really works. But it's when you get to the second book and onwards that the book series really starts to let itself down when compared to the TV series. I think that the TV series overall is a lot stronger. There were points whilst reading A Song of Ice and Fire that I just basically gave up and left it a couple of weeks because my brain just couldn't cope with the amount of stuff going on. There's so many different subplots and stuff, and in all honesty I'm quite glad a lot of them didn't make it into the series because it just wouldn't have worked. I don't think, at least. It threw me a bit when there were missing characters or when there were additional characters and characters with different names to the ones that they have in the show. That's one of the things that just sort of led to me probably being a bit slower whilst taking this in. There are certain scenes in particular in which case I think the TV show just delivered more successfully. A scene from the end of season 5 where Jon is betrayed by the Night's Watch, and I mean, you've seen what I look like having watched that scene. Just saw the series finale of season 5 of Game of Thrones and broke down into tears. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey Ruby, have you got a battery? I need it for the watch.
I hate you. Why, George? Why? And when I read it, as much as I knew something was going to happen along those lines, it just had nowhere near the same impact on me. And I still think that Jon Snow, within Game of Thrones, is one of my favourite characters. He's not my favourite. Tyrion or Arya are a close battle, but Jon Snow, there's something about him that I just like. And it's not his monotonous delivery. Would I recommend the book series to Game of Thrones fans who are just fans of the TV series? Yes. If you like reading, then read it. It's a great way to understand more about characters' motivations, more about what was going on behind the scenes, stuff like that. Just a little bit more information. And I can't understand why people wouldn't want that. So yes, if you like Game of Thrones, read Game of Thrones, the book series, A Song of Ice and Fire. You can pick it up from the works for 30 quid. Because that's where I got mine from. But yeah, so it took me a bit longer than I anticipated, but I have finally read A Song of Ice and Fire in its current entirety. There are more books coming. And apparently there's a lot of little books as well that aren't necessarily part of the series but explain more stuff. A bit like J.R.R. Tolkien's like Silmarillion stuff. Like it all takes place in Middle Earth, but it's not necessarily directly linked to the story, but it's still filling in stuff that's going on. Another similarity between George R.R. Martin and J.R.R. Tolkien. So I might have to check those out. But yeah, so Game of Thrones: A Song of Ice and Fire. Have you read it? Let me know what you thought of the books in the comments below. That'd be nice to know. Do you think they are better or on par with the TV series? And which one's your favourite book? I think Game of Thrones is my favourite book in that series. Definitely not my favourite book. Yeah, and that's another one ticked off my 30 before 30. So if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it on social media with someone who you think might enjoy it. Do you know someone who's read the Game of Thrones book series and you think, yeah, I'm gonna tell that person about this video? Then tell that person about this video. What are you doing? Please. If you haven't already, please subscribe, that'd be amazing. And yeah, I've been Ruby Price and I shall see you next time. Adios. Bye. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do with these now. I could always reread them.